Everybody. Jackie Woodside here again, the founder of the Curriculum for Conscious Living and the Conscious Living Summit. Thank you so much for your time and your attention, really going deep into these amazing teachers and speakers interviews that we've been having over the course of this week and next week. It's just delightful. And today, oh my gosh, put on your seatbelt. I am so excited to work with this new friend and colleague of mine, Esther Graham. We are so aligned in our language, our speaking, our teaching. It feels like we're twin daughters from separate mothers, I guess, that we're so much alike. So let me just say a little bit. Esther Graham is an extraordinary author, transformational teacher and speaker, professional development trainer. And she is the founder of the Festa della Donna, which she will tell us about, the Celebration of Women Festival that's coming up in November 2021, which sounds just delightful for me. So Esther, hello, and thank you for being with us on the Conscious Living Summit.
Hello, Jackie. It's such a blessing and a privilege and an honor just to be here. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just so glad that you're here. So I like to start our time together just so people have a sense of where you're coming from and your perspective and your background. What has led you to this, being really a world-class, renowned, transformational teacher, helping people elevate their lives and, just be living more consciously, right? So what led you down this career path?
Oh, that's an excellent question. It's just been the journey of life. Let's say it's just the journey of life, and just as I began to grow, and honestly, I grew up in a Christian home where my parents were pastors, and they taught me just in everything that I do, Esther, just be conscious of everything that you're doing. Back then they didn't even call it conscious living, right? They were just teaching you. And so as I got older, I found that when I was making decisions that just really did not celebrate me, let's say, did not really feed my soul. I began to really take a serious look at my life, Jackie, and say, there are just some things that I need to change.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really how I began on that path. I lived in Italy for quite a while. And while I was in Italy, I really began to hone in, let's say, to who Esther really is and what Esther should be doing. And one of the things that I loved about Italy is that every March 8th, they celebrated International Women's Day. I mean, it's all over the world. But in Italy, I always felt as if it was just extra special. And they called it Festa della Donna. And so, yeah. And so, on that day, they celebrated and they empowered women. And so that's the name of my company. When I decided to launch out, my goal is to empower women and men, whomever, but to live consciously and to just live a life that has been planned out for you. It's already in you. Now you just have to live it out. So yeah.
Great. It's already in you. You already have to live it out. But the only way to live it out, right, is exactly what you and I are both saying, is to live consciously.
To live consciously.
Wake up. And we were talking before we started recording about, making your life your conscious expression. How you live each and every moment. You said folding the laundry, can be a spiritual practice. It can be your conscious expression. So we have so much to talk about. You and I both have courses and programs around life design. Mine is called Life Design. Yours Life by Design. I love that. We have to sit down and compare notes.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm so excited about that. But let's just start a little more high level and then drill ourselves down. Esther, how do you? Let me back up a little bit. We have a lot of teachers out there today, right, talking about consciousness or awakening and spirituality, and yet I still feel a little too often that people think I'm living consciously if I shop at Whole Foods and take a yoga class, right? That there's this externalization of today because of marketing and the messaging of what it means to live consciously. So one of my goals of this summit really is to bring together thought leaders and just ask this very basic question of everyone: what do you mean by conscious living? What does it mean to you to live a conscious life and to celebrate life in that way? So just dive in. Let's just start high level and we'll dive down from there.
Yeah. So conscious living for me is begins inward, you know. It begins every day that I wake up. I do a self-examination. I do a body scan of Esther, you know,
Hmm.
and what is it that Esther is in control of? Right? And what decisions and what plans does Esther have for that day? So I believe that conscious living begins inward, that we begin to look at what we're really doing. Many times we go through life and we make decisions and we're not even sure why we've made the decision. But conscious living is knowing I'm making this decision because of this. I'm impacting the world because of this. But it really starts with you. It starts with the daily meditation. It starts with
Mhm.
the daily prayer. It starts with becoming very present.
So great. All right. So hold on. You're just saying that, like, each and everything you're saying is so rich. I want to dive in. So the first thing you're saying is conscious living begins inward. And I love that. You know, that is it. When you're just focused on what's happening out here and being reactive to life, that is one of my definitions for you've gone unconscious.
Yeah.
You know, you've gone unconscious when that's the case. So conscious living begins within. And then you mentioned meditation, you mentioned prayer, and you mentioned something else. How am I going to use my day? What is my plan for this day? Which is a whole other thing that I love talking about, being conscious about how you use the gift of time. People say, oh, I can't do that, I can't do that, I just don't have time. It's never true that you don't have time. It's only true that you're not being conscious of how you're using the gift of time that you have. So, say a little bit more about each of those things. Conscious living is within.
Yeah. Conscious living is within, meaning you go on a path and you discover who you are. You begin, like I said earlier, you begin to do a body scan, a check in with yourself. Okay, a check in to say, how are you feeling today? What is your day going to look like? It's a check in to make sure that I'm good today.
And what about, let me just ask you, because I think this happens a lot of times for people. What if you do that check-in and that body scan and you're not?
Ah,
And you find you're off, or you're upset, or you're feeling anxiety. So that's one of the other things I like to dive into. What is conscious living? How do you know when you're living consciously? And what do you do when you've gotten yourself off track?
so when you are when you're doing your check and you feel that, okay, I'm just really out of alignment, or this isn't a great day for me, then you begin to look at what's going on.
Mhm.
Why are you out of line? Why are you not feeling well? I'll give you a good example.
Okay.
Year ago, my mother transitioned. And so last week was the anniversary. And I kept waking up every morning, Jackie, and I was really feeling, a bit, emotional. And I began to say, okay, Esther, what's going on? What's happening? And because I began to do the check in, because I wasn't able to go through my day, let's say, the way I really like to go through my day. And so I did my check in and I discovered, Esther, what you placed aside is that your mother's passing and the sadness that you feel
Yeah.
from it. And
Yeah.
so once I was able to identify that, right, then I know, okay, I can deal with that. I can control that. And then I can begin to direct my day. I can make
Mhm.
choices as to what I'm going to do that day, what I need to shift in my day. Here's the other piece. When I'm out of alignment, then I also go in prayer and I go in meditation and I just talk to God. I have to do that. That's how I get centered. I have to, when I'm having one of those days where I'm feel okay, I'm headed onto the unconscious level, I'm just feeling out of alignment, I like to call it. Then I go into meditation and prayer. I go into my time and I look at my schedule and I say, okay, I'm up early in the morning. And so I'm there immediately. I just
Okay.
need.
I'm going to keep pushing you, Esther, because I just think it's so important that we really dive in and dig in deeper. You're using this phrase alignment and out of alignment, and I use it as well. So we are aligned in that. But what does that mean for you? If you're coaching somebody who you see they're out of alignment, but they don't see it, or just for somebody who maybe is newer on this path, out of alignment, what does that mean? Aligned with what?
So the out of alignment would be the out of alignment to how you choose to live your life. Out of alignment would mean that my thoughts and my body, let's say, are not going in the same direction. What I speak is not going in the direction of what my thoughts are or where I want them to go. So then I'm out of alignment with what my belief system is.
Yeah. 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 So out of alignment, that's so good. I'm out of alignment with my belief system. Yeah. So what I'm believing and what I'm thinking, or what I believe and what I feel don't jive.
They don't jive.
And so
And
then your step is to go, you can finish that thought, but your step in then, I just want to really walk through the step by step. When you recognize, like, oh, let's just say, for example, I believe that life is benevolent and that, God is good all the time, regardless of how I feel. And I feel like crap. Then you say your step is to go into prayer and meditation. So say a little bit more about that.
so I go in when I go into prayer and meditation. And so when I go into prayer and meditation, for me, I'll turn on some beautiful music to where that just sets me, puts me in the right atmosphere and begins to set me in alignment.
Nice.
And then I read scriptures or I read type of devotional that again, that's going to set me up for success, set me up in alignment.
So,
And then I begin to meditate and I begin to pray and I have a dialogue with God.
yeah. Yeah.
And
Do you want to say more about that? I'd love to hear more about it. And I just have to say, Esther, this is so great. I just love the step by step. It's going within, it's recognizing how I think and feel right now isn't aligned with what I believe. So what do? I take that into my practice. I want to just really acknowledge and affirm the degree to which you are living consciously. That, I just a caricature. What a lot of people do when they feel crappy, what do? They pull out their phone and they scroll on TikTok or Instagram because they want to numb out. They go unconscious. They pick up, that beer or the fifth beer or the bottle of wine, and they go unconscious in some way. You're saying, oh gosh, I have this belief that I'm a child of God and I'm here to do good in the world. And you know what? Today, I just don't got it going on. I don't care today. Oh, wait, that's not who I am. I'm going to take a conscious action to do what you said, go within, right?
yes,
And now you're saying your prayer is, I can't remember if you said talk to God or write to God, but again, I just want to tease this out with such specificity. Will you say more about that?
yeah. Well, I love what you just said to talk to God or write to God because you can do either
You can
one.
do either one. Exactly right.
And they all work. The important thing is this is that before you can come out, you have to go in. Yeah. And so, as you're going in, as you're communicating with God, right? I am a firm believer that if what is this, the vertical?
Yes. Yep. This is vertical and this is horizontal. I always confuse those two.
Me
It must
too.
be a form of dyslexia or something.
But if my vertical is in a line, then my horizontal will be aligned.
Nice. I love that. And my phrase for that, I want to share this with you so we can borrow each other's, is that living life consciously is living at the intersection of the ethereal, spiritual plane and the physical. So we're saying the exact same thing with just different language. But I really want to focus on that for a minute because you're exactly right. You have to do the vertical before you can do the horizontal. You have to master, and I say really mastering the inner domain, the spiritual domain of awareness and consciousness, so that you can master the outer domain of the physical.
When you're thinking about writing or speaking your prayer, both are actually good. The most important thing is that you remember that when you're speaking, you're in a dialogue with God. And so
Mm.
take that time to listen. Because when he speaks back to you, it could be just a quiet voice. It could just be something that you've sensed in your heart and in your body. And you'll know exactly when he's speaking back to you. It's a dialogue. And when you're writing your thoughts, and be transparent about your thoughts. Be transparent. Say exactly how you're feeling. And when you're writing it, then listen for that answer and then begin to write that as well. Journal. I have a prayer journal. I write it all down. I have a prayer board. I write it all down. Why? So I can see it, I can visualize it, and then I could remember it. I could internalize.
You have a prayer journal, I have that as well. And a prayer, what was the other one that you said?
Which
Tell
is
me
just
about that. Yeah, tell me about that.
like a vision board, but on the prayer board, I have on one side of the prayer board, I've got categories basically on what I'm praying about, what I need to uh, want God to speak to me about, what I want direction on. And so it could be spirituality, family, relationships, business, money, finance, anything at all. So I have them in about 7 categories. Right. And so I'll write everything down on sticky notes, and I'll even put pictures. And then as I'm talking to God about it, or I'm writing to God about it, when I hear from God and I get the answer, then I'll move it over to the other side. This helps me to measure and track.
Wow.
Yeah, it helps me to measure and track.
I love that. So you have things on the one side when you get the answer or the issue is resolved. Could we use that phrase as well?
Yeah, when I get it resolved to where, okay,
Then you move it to the other side.
move it to the other side. And what I will do, Jackie, is I'll put a date. I'll put the date from when I started the
Yeah.
discussion, the dialogue, the thought, right? When I became conscious
Wow.
of this is what, because
Yeah.
some were unconscious, as you said before, about some things. When I became conscious about this,
Yeah.
I put it on the board. And
That is brilliant.
it's resolved. I move it to the next side.
So I'm being super concrete here, but let me ask you, what substance are you actually using? Is it like a Velcro? Is it a whiteboard?
So I'm a very basic person,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Very creative. I use sticky notes.
Just sticky notes. Okay, got it. So, just a big board with sticky notes.
I've had in my classes, in my coaching, I've had those that are very creative and they're going to put, and that's fine.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
that works for you, that brings you present
So great.
into conscious living, right? And
So
so that's exactly what I do. And so I will just move it over, and that allows me to track it. That allows me to measure it. That allows me to see movement in my life. And
great.
that allows me to see, am I in a forward moving momentum? Am I
Wow.
impact that I want to make on the world? Am I serving?
That is such a gift.
All of that. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so, so much for sharing that with people. And I know for sure, for one, I'm going to be like you, not the so creative one, just like a board with sticky notes. I love.
It's and it's what and it's so funny because you can use it as a binder as long as you just have the two. And I just call it my prayer board. Why? Because visualization is also important,
That's
right? And
so
so I
great.
visualize. Here's the other. I visualize what I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I begin to visualize it, I may have a picture of something. I may put it on the board. And so when I look at my board, I can see it. I can visualize it.
I love it. I'm going to borrow that for sure. Talk to me about conscious living in relationships. How does one stay conscious in relationship with other people? That's where rubber meets the road, right? I mean, it's one thing to just be out there being conscious by yourself, having your prayer time, making your life your spiritual practice, but then there's other human beings.
Yeah. Yeah.
What thoughts do you have about that?
um, in relationships, being conscious, I think the most important part is that in the relationship, can I move in integrity?
Integrity. So say more about that. Define how you use integrity.
And so when when I'm in a relationship with you, I'm going to speak in integrity. I'm going to make sure what Lisa calls it, I'm not going to break the integrity contract,
And
right?
what do you mean by that?
Uh,
How are you using the word integrity?
so integrity means that what I speak to you will be truth.
Okay, got it.
Yes, will be truth. If I made a promise to you, I'm going to keep that promise, right? And so many times when I think of integrity, it's um, it's not necessarily, I think of the integrity contract. It's not necessarily written. It's an unwritten contract I have in a relationship, let's say with my spouse or my children, with my best friends or my coworkers. And in that integrity contract, I'm going to be true to you. I'm going to hold truth. I'm going to speak truth to you. I'm going to honor you. And when we're having a discussion, even if we disagree on the discussion, I promise that I'm going to still speak truth and I will hold true to who I am. And I will always hold you in integrity.
So beautiful. So, how does that help you resolve conflict?
It helps me resolve conflict because when I begin to speak to you, I begin to, for example, use words for, I'll give an example. What I love about you, Jackie, is the way that you smile, what I love about you. So I'll begin with what I love or what I respect about you, right? This is what I need as we move forward in our relationship.
It's so powerful. Do you know if we could train politicians to communicate that way, like the world would just, all of our problems would, our world issues, bring that kind of honoring and integrity? Esther, it speaks volumes of who you are. And what I love spending time with you and having this dialogue is the degree to which what you're saying is you don't just teach these principles, but you're bringing them into your day to day experience as well. You are living consciously.
Yes, living consciously. That's the only way to live,
Yeah.
really, and to be happy because when you live consciously,
Yes.
you're happy. You have an inner sense of peace and joy and happiness that no one can take away. You can give it away, but no one can take it away.
Right. It does. It feels to me like living consciously really is our birth. It's our natural state from birth.
It is. It
Yeah.
is.
It's our natural state from birth. And then, through our experiences in life and just coming into the full human experience. And
Yeah.
when you come into the fullness of your humanity, sometimes you separate from your divinity. You forget your
You
divinity. Yeah.
forget. I love to tell people, I said, when I look in the mirror, because I am made in the image of God. And so when I look in the mirror and I see myself, I see who God created me to be. I see God.
Yes.
That makes
Exactly right.
And so I realize that I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. And so sometimes as we from the day we were born, he put in us, he created us with greatness. Everything that we need to live a great life is already in us from the day we were born, from the day we were created, from the conception.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what's so exciting about that. And what has happened is life, as we develop, things have happened to us, either directly or indirectly. So our development becomes arrested.
Yeah.
And so now, as we begin to understand conscious living, we now have to turn around and make that decision and say, I'm going to live my life consciously. I'm going to
Mhm.
as what God has created me to live from the day I was created. When I begin to realize that, then I can begin to make conscious decisions.
Shouldn't kids be taught this from the very beginning?
They
Right?
should.
Isn't it so? I mean, I'm starting to see more social emotional education in schools, but it just, because it seems as though, and maybe this is the biggest trauma that we give to our children is that we almost educate children to be unconscious. Give them the phone. Oh gosh, when I see these, 1 year olds, 2 year olds in a restaurant or on the subway or something, with a phone, and I just want to be like, no, don't do that to your kids, right? We're educating kids, we're training young people. And I know you have a passion for working with teens too. I saw that on your LinkedIn. So
And what I don't have on my profile is I'm an educator. I'm an early childhood educator. I taught at the universities, and now I own my own two early childhood centers. And so we teach children how to.
what? You
Yeah,
own two early childhood centers?
Yes, yes. And so we have a wonderful educational program, wonderful curriculum. And so we teach them, the growth mindset. We teach the social and emotional curriculum, how to make decisions. How do you control your emotions? How do you speak when you're upset? What is it that you will tell your friend?
Yeah.
What because we have so many of our children coming in with trauma. Why? Because of the unconscious living.
Right, because they've been trained to be unconscious.
And since the pandemic, it's become the social and emotional have become even worse. And so what we're seeing is that our parents are operating unconsciously and the children come in. And so they're that as well. I have my grand love he's 10 years old. And when the pandemic, of course, he's at home, homeschool, and he just had a brother and sister, twin boys, brothers born. And so I did the growth mindset with him. I went over, just wanted to talk to him about what he was feeling. Again, conscious living. And so I had a list of growth mindset questions that I asked him so he can begin to think out, tell me, how are you feeling? He would say, so tell me, how did that affect your day today?
So beautiful.
What to do about that when you became angry?
Esther, I have to tell you, this is so profound. I also teach emotional self-regulation, but I teach it in a leadership course to executives. And, you
I
know,
bet.
yeah, right. But if they had have gone through your early childhood education program, maybe they wouldn't need that chapter in my leadership development course. So much of leadership, whether it's leading a company or leading your life, leading your family, leading your life, is about your ability to know how you feel, manage your emotions, and communicate it in a way that leaves everyone intact. That to me is a big part of living consciously.
It is. We have right now in my programs and the parents and our staff conscious discipline. So they're doing, we're about to implement it, a whole conscious discipline series, which is about a year long, right?
Wonderful.
And with the conscious discipline, it's not just for educators or for the children. It's for us. It's for the leaders. It's for the CEO. Listen, conscious discipline is first about, let me first discipline myself
Yeah,
consciously,
right.
right?
Discipline comes from the root word of disciple. What am I following?
What am I following? What are the decisions I'm making? What am I doing? Because where the mind goes, the body follows.
So true.
And so let's now get it in our minds. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. This is a daily, this is continual, and this is conscious living.
Exactly right. That's so beautiful. I love that verse. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And that's not like it doesn't happen once. That's a way of life.
A way of life. That's why it says renewing. It didn't say renewed.
Right. Be transformed that one day that you renew your mind.
You know, but many times we do that, right? Many times we do that. And it's just that one thing. Or we make a decision, we're going to live consciously.
Yeah.
Okay, how long is it going to take for me to get there? And I guess what I would like to say here, Jackie, is that if you're looking, you're saying, I'm not living a conscious life, then make that decision, one decision, to live that conscious life and realize it's not a one day that you'll have to work on it.
Yeah.
Boom.
It is every moment of every day for the rest of your life.
Every day. It's a lifestyle.
Yes,
It's not
exactly.
a crash diet.
Yeah, yeah. And a way of being. I say living consciously is a way of being.
It's a way of being. It's a way of being.
So beautiful. Esther, you are a masterful teacher about living consciously. I'm so glad. It was Lisa Nichols that put me in touch with you, I believe. So I'm grateful for that, grateful for having met you. I know after listening to this incredible wisdom that you were just spewing out of every sentence, people will want to get in touch with you. So how and where can people find you?
So of course I'm on all social media.
Of course, just look for you. Yeah.
Look for me on social media platform. You can find me under Esther Graham, and you can find me also under Festa Della Donna.
So spell that out. Oh, I'll put a caption down on the video for you, but go ahead.
It's Festa
Festa, F-E-S-T-A.
Donna, like the name Donna, right? And my website is www.fddwomen.com.
Okay, Festa Dilla Dama Women.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so great. Wow. Esther, it is just a delight to be in your presence and to work with you today. Thank you for your generosity, your giving, your wisdom, your teaching. And I look forward to the opportunity to be in your space again.
And I'm so happy to meet you. I'm grateful to Lisa and to Susie for just connecting us.
Oh, Susie. Yeah. Okay. It was Susie that introduced us, Susie Carter.
Harder, yeah. And so I appreciate it so much, such like-mindedness. I love the job that you're doing and just training and teaching all of us to live consciously. So important to the success of
So
life.
important to just break it down, get to work. All right. Awesome. Thank you for your time.
Here, thank you.